The Ebola victim here in Texas remains in critical condition this morning as his family is quarantined in a gated Dallas community. Meantime, the president has declared the Ebola outbreak a national security priority. But the White House says a ban on travel into the U.S. from the affected West African countries is not necessary. Now several lawmakers are coming out demanding that change. So should there be a travel ban, and what should the U.S.'s role be in the crisis? That's our topic this half hour. We want to hear from you on our Fox 26 Facebook page. You can also weigh in on Twitter. Use the hashtag Fox26forlife. Joining us live in our newsroom again is our legal analyst, Chris Tritico, our news analyst, Mustafa Tamiz, and public policy analyst, Jackie Bally. So what do you guys think? Should there be a travel ban?
Well, it seems to me that you have to follow the lead of the Centers for Disease Control on a topic like this. And what they've said repeatedly in the last few days is no, because there are too many other ways for people from these three African countries to make it to the United States. And so you shut off travel just from that country, you haven't done anything. And so, Mustafa, it seems to me that if the United States wants to be prepared for what we think may happen, there'll be other ways to do it other than just stopping this, creating a travel ban.
Yeah, because if they go in other countries, I mean, what you have to do is to get to the source. We have to start containing it in the countries where it originates from. That means we've got to put more resources there, because this is not a new thing. Ebola has been around for a long time. In order to fight back, to combat it, we're going to have to do it on ground in those countries. I tell you, I'm a little tired of talking about Ebola. Like, wherever you turn, this is it. The only upside to it has been that there's created a more awareness amongst our medical profession, and hope that that's going to be a plus thing. But the amount of people that die from Ebola versus, heart attack or any of the other diseases, flu, is far more significant.
There's been a lot of talk about in Dallas. The medical people in Dallas said they just really weren't prepared for this. And even my wife yesterday said, well, that's ridiculous. We ought to be making preparations right now for this big outbreak. I said, what outbreak? There's been 3 people in the United States that have brought it in with them. And
when you hear sound bites like that from our medical professionals who are saying, oh, we weren't prepared for this, that's not very comforting to those of us, most of us. So yes, it's not an outbreak yet. I think the president saying that it would never come to the States, now it is in the States. There are 26 African countries that have a ban on traveling. But can we really put a ban effectively, since someone can go from Africa, some of the hot spots, they can go from Africa to another country and then come in here?
Right.
I think maybe putting more precautionary measures on with TSA agents. I mean, because the one thing Duncan did prove is that just asking them, have you been exposed to the virus? Anyone can lie and say no,
and then cough on you.
Exactly.
Right.
So we do, if we're not going to put a ban on flying out of the hotspots in Africa, then at least let's try to ramp up the measures that TSA agents have to.
Let's go to Sally. She's monitoring our social media.
Yeah, here's a couple of the tweets coming in asking why there isn't a travel ban yet. Ross says the U.S. will stop flights to Israel, no disease, but not from Liberia, contagious disease. He says U.S. government fail. And then Senator Ted Cruz here from Texas says that Americans deserve specific answers to how the administration is addressing travel to and from countries impacted.
I don't understand the first one at all. But let's talk about this. I was highly offended when I read in the media that this person in Dallas was not getting the same treatment that the other 2 doctors that came back with Ebola did. Then we found out they don't have any more. Well, isn't that where we could really be doing something?
It's a huge thing. Look, there was this trial treatment that was used to cure 2 people of Ebola.
Immediately.
Which is a huge thing. And the company that manufactures says that it takes several months to grow the bacteria and the cultures to do this, so they're out. So this poor man is suffering, and the cure that could help him, it's not available.
And that's where, if we're going to do something, isn't that where the government can really put some resources in? Let's make enough of this to cure this thing.
Containment is going to be key, not just here, but also you've heard the administration and CDC say that containment in Africa, some measures in Africa. I do agree with that. I also then agree with beefing up the measures that I brought up before, also making sure something that both of you just addressed, making sure that our medical professionals are prepared. This has really been hyped up by the media, and like we said, more people die from the flu and other issues. So if they're going to continue to hype this up as much as they are, then we need to at least see the other part where our medical professionals are prepared for this, and they are practicing more containment measures.
And talking about hyping it up, does it do any good for, and Ted Cruz is the only one that said it, that I know of. Does it do any good for Ted Cruz to come out and say that the president needs to ban this travel when the CDC and everyone else is saying that ban is not going to help?
Well, we always want a simple response. We want a three-point plan to fix everything, and complicated issues aren't fixed that way. I think one thing that we should look at is the FDA protocol on getting this drug approved. Maybe it needs to be developed overseas. Maybe it needs to be developed in Africa rather
Instead
than
of
the United
5 years,
States.
let's do it in 6 months.
Yeah, because look, if we don't get a cure that's cheap, that can be implemented on ground in Africa, all of this other stuff doesn't matter.
And we could do that. I mean, the United States cured polio all by itself, worldwide. We're the ones who invented the vaccine and went around and gave it to them. We could do that here.
I think it has to be a healthy measure of both containment and,
Right.
we banned flying when SARS was a threat. So as far as trying to target certain countries, I do think we have to be more cautious about the people who are entering the hot zones in Africa.
Okay.
I really do.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. That'll be it for this week, and we'll be back next week with 4 really, really good topics.